Ayubowan. Vanakkam. I'm Vayoni Dimel. This is Boston Lanka News, bringing you news, views and entertainment from Boston and USA. Dr. Dayan Jayathilaka responds to the charges issued by the Sri Lankan External Affairs Ministry. Dr. Harsha De Silva responds to Minister Basil Rajapaksa's comments about stopping all imported goods to Sri Lanka. Is Minister Bandula Gunawardena hallucinating or out of touch? Sri Lankan beauty queen Jacqueline Fernandez from Bollywood to Hollywood. Sri Lanka's Minister of External Affairs, in an unprecedented and controversial move, has threatened to charge the Sri Lanka's ambassador to France, Dr. Dayan Jayathilaka, under the Penal Code. External Ministry has sent a lengthy 5-page letter to Dr. Jayathilaka outlining certain charges relating to alleged wrongdoing by Dr. Jayathilaka in the conduct of the affairs of the embassy in Paris. Among the charges in the letter is one which questions the ambassador about repainting and whitewashing the embassy and ambassadorial residence buildings prior to the visit of External Affairs Minister Professor G.L. Pires. Another charge relates to the accommodation of a first secretary who had taken up duties in Paris at a hotel until he was able to find a suitable house. We join with Ambassador Jayathilaka to discuss about these charges as well as the post-resolution issues. Mr. Ambassador, the Sri Lankan External Ministry has issued a charge sheet accusing you of administrative and financial irregularities. What do you have to say to that?
Well, I wouldn't exactly call it a charge sheet, but I mean, not in the formal sense, but it is a 5-page fax which somebody has now released to the media, and I mean it's I would say to use a title that Sri Lankan government uses, I would call it lies agreed upon, because it's a combination of it's a version of the Channel 4 and the Darusman report. None of those things contain. It's not like a colossal fraud or loss of money or something. I mean, for instance, we've heard of Sri Lankan diplomats who have not stayed in their residences and stayed in 5-star hotels at the cost of 21 lakhs a month for years. Nobody's ever said that kind of thing about me. I mean, I'm not one of those people who's being remanded for fraud. These charges are to do with procedural lapses or irregularities and so on. And it is not the job of the ambassador. Obviously, I'm the head of mission, but the ambassador is not in charge of administration. You have a head of chancery. That's a designation, and that is the person who is in overall charge of administrative and financial affairs. The ambassador, especially a political appointee of the president, such as myself, I really accepted the job because I was told that Sri Lanka needed to be well represented in France, which is one of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, in a context in which the so-called Secretary General's panel of experts report, or the Darusman report, had been released. So that's the job that I've been doing and trying to do. This is ridiculous. I think Sri Lanka's critics and enemies and adversaries, especially the radical pro-LTT elements in the Tamil diaspora, must be laughing their sides out. I mean, this is completely irrational, and this reference to the penal code is to do with color washing the embassy. I mean, I hardly. Firstly, what's wrong with that? And secondly, I mean, it was the lowest quotation for sprucing the place up. I mean, I would think that whoever wrote this, they should spend their time trying to figure out why they lost the 17-vote majority I left for Sri Lanka when I left Geneva in May 2009. We won 29 votes in Geneva, May 2009. And now we are down to 15 votes. These people who, were all part of this, I would think they should spend their time trying to figure out why we lost, why they failed. And they should be asking me why we won in 2009, not why the embassy was repaid.
You have been promoting a more moderate view on how the Sri Lanka should address the human rights issue as well as implementing LLRC recommendations. Do you think you have been targeted because of your views?
The timing of this is curious. This is post-Geneva 2012 defeat. And at a time when views are being expressed and there's a struggle of opinions within the state as well, concerning how one should respond to the Geneva defeat and how one should respond to the LLRC, how one should go forward, what one should do. And yes, I felt it is my duty also to participate in that discussion. And I have expressed my views, and I have a moral right to do so, because when we had a struggle in Geneva in 2009, I helped us win. So when I'm asked what should we do now, it is also my moral right and duty as a political scientist and a diplomat to express my views of how we can get out of this difficult international situation. So it is possible, if you look at the timing and the context, it is possible that this ridiculous affair is not unrelated to a battle of policy perspectives as to what post-war Sri Lanka should be like, what Sri Lanka in the 21st century should be like, and how should we be in the world. Yes, I do think that behind this, it is possible that there is a faction or the patronage of a faction that thinks that my moderate views are bad or dangerous.
Minister Basil Rajapaksa thinks that Sri Lanka should adopt a policy of complete prohibition of imported goods. Soon after the US-sponsored resolution at the UN Human Rights Council, Minister Vimal Weerawansa called all Sri Lankans to boycott American products. Addressing the media, Minister Basil Rajapaksa shared his views about promoting the local goods in Sri Lanka. We join with Dr. Harsha De Silva, an opposition UNP legislator, to find out his response to Minister Rajapaksa's views. Dr. De Silva is a leading economist from Sri Lanka and has a PhD in economics from the University of Missouri. Dr. De Silva, there was a media report of Economic Minister Basil Rajapaksa saying that Sri Lanka should begin a national movement to encourage people not to use imported goods but to promote local goods. You think it's a step in the right direction?
See, just like we have had problems in dealing with the international community, as we saw in Geneva, we are having problems with dealing with the international community when it comes to trade and investment also. If you try to say, look, don't buy any imported items, it is quite possible that those countries that import from us, hypothetically, can say don't buy anything from Sri Lanka also. It is a unwise way to deal with the problem that we have. Buying Sri Lankan, by all means, yes, we should buy Sri Lankan. But to say buy Sri Lankan and to say don't buy anything from America and Europe are two separate things. I mean, just this morning I saw on a three-wheeler a very large sticker with US and crossed off, Coca-Cola crossed off, Google crossed off, and stuff like that. Makes really no sense. The problem we have is one of a massive trade deficit. We are importing way more than what we are exporting. So there are several ways in which we can solve the problem. One is, like Basil says, stop all imports. Another is to reduce imports and increase exports. Yet another way is to keep the imports as it is and have an export drive where we can dramatically increase exports. So we have to find a solution that fits our problem. Stopping imports is not only unachievable but ill-advised and not in the best interest of Sri Lanka. I mean, for instance, there are so many items that we don't produce. We have to purchase. But we purchase them in order to improve our investments, improve our productivity, improve our efficiency to develop this country. What Honorable Basil Rajapaksa had said is childish and irrelevant.
Education Minister Bandula Gunawardena thinks average monthly income of Rs 2,500 would be sufficient for an average Sri Lankan to live a decent life. The Derana TV in their popular show Vadapitiya gave an opportunity to Minister Gunawardena and UNP MP Ravi Karunanayaka to debate minister's claim that Rs 2,500 a month, that is about $25, is enough for a person to survive.
සංරක්ෂණ සමාජ පීඨවල තියෙනවා.
විනාඩි 3ක කාලයක් ඇමතිතුමා.
එතෙන්දී මට මේ දරුවන්ට කියන්න ඕනෙකම තිබුණා. මම මේ අවස්ථාවේදී යෝජනා කළ ඒ රැස්වීමේදී එතුමා අපේ රටේ මධ්‍යම විද්‍යාල මහාවිද්‍යාල හරහා නිදහස් අධ්‍යාපනයේ මොරටුව විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ
Again, we put that question to economist and UNP MP Dr. De Silva. Dr. De Silva, according to Minister Bandula Gunawardena, Rs 7,500 a month is enough for a family of 3 to survive. In other words, Rs 2,500 a month is more than enough for one person to have a quality life in Sri Lanka. Your comments?
You see, I'm disappointed in Bandula because, he and I are both economists and we've sat and had discussions on the economy for hours. In fact, when he launched his book, that was a collection of his parliamentary speeches on economics, it was I who gave the keynote speech just before he crossed over. So when people say things like that, it brings down the entire credibility of not just him, but others as well. Because people all lump politicians together and paint everybody with the same brush. So when Bandula as an economist says something like that, it has a negative implication on others as well. Having said that, I have refused to debate him on this because I think it is just such a foolish statement that by debating him, I bring myself down to that level. So therefore, I have said I'm not willing to participate in this because the entire country has already proved that he is completely nuts for having said this. Now, the government statistics show a person needs 3,327 rupees a month to stay above the poverty line. Now, I have argued this in Sri Lanka, in Parliament. We say our poverty is only 8%. Now, in Boston, I'm sure poverty is more than 8%. But the way poverty is measured is different. Now, in the US, unless you make $26 a day, you are considered poor. But generally, the world over, poverty in developing countries is defined as less than $2 a day. So unless you make $2, you can't really make ends meet. But extreme poverty is defined as $1 a day. Now usually that means taking in enough kilocalories so that you can survive the day and have some shelter and something to wear and just basic non-food needs met. Now this Bandula's 2,500 rupees a day works out to something like 65 US cents a day. So if extreme poverty is $1 a day, and if Bandula says a person can live with 65 cents a day, then he must be, he's hallucinating. And I said this sometime back to somebody, because it's just absolutely impossible to achieve.
There are media speculations that Sri Lankan beauty queen Jacqueline Fernandez will play a leading role in a major Hollywood movie. Jacqueline, who has so far done 4 major Bollywood films, has been approached for a British-Canadian project titled Definition of Fear, which marks the directorial debut of producer James Simpson. It is reportedly a horror film about 4 girls going out for a weekend to a remote snow-covered lake house and the unpleasant surprises that await them. That concludes our news edition. We meet you again with another news edition of news, views and entertainment from Boston and USA. Till then, goodbye.